Oh, you can't make this up. But do you all remember when this administration welcomed 59 white South Africans into the country, talking about they were fleeing from persecution in South Africa for being white?
They struggling. They are struggling.
Imagine leaving your home country, going somewhere thinking that, oh, the grass is going to be greener. And reaching there, well, things turn around. The grass isn't greener on the other side. And right now you want to go back to your home country, but your government is saying, please, first say that everything that you said about us is a lie. Then you can maybe come back. Well, would you go through all that humiliation? Or you would stay and face the dead end that you walked into. That's what happened to the white Afrikaners that left South Africa claiming that, oh, we are being mistreated, they're killing us on our farms. And now Donald Trump decided to bring them to America. Yet, all the other refugees have been refused to come to America. So, right now they are facing wrath.
But let's look back at when they were welcomed off their private charter jet.
Welcome. Welcome to the United States of America. It is such an honor for us to receive you here today. This is the land of the free, and we know that all of you have faced... I'm Chris Landau. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the Deputy Secretary of State of the United States. This is my friend Troy Edgar.
Yeah, I'm the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. Again, welcome. So great to have you guys here.
I know you've gone through a long flight. I cannot believe there are babies and children who are actually so well behaved. This is much better than mine are. So bless you for that. And I think it's so happy. It makes me so happy to see you with our flag in your hands, and that flag symbolizes liberty for so many of us.
I have an update on what's going on with them now.
You may recall last year we reported on the Trump administration's decision to limit the number of refugees entering the United States. That number was set at 7,500, a significant cut from the Biden era. In addition, the administration is prioritizing white South Africans for admission, a group it says faces persecution at home, something the South African government disputes. Well, now an investigation from the Free Press shows many of those white South Africans, also known as Afrikaners, are barely scraping by because of what they say are failures in U.S. government systems. Madeline Rowley is an investigative reporter for the Free Press, and she joins us now from Virginia to talk about this. And we should note the Free Press and CBS News share a parent company in Paramount Skydance. Madeline, good morning. Talk to us about the conditions some of these refugees say they are experiencing, because the administration made it seem as if they were being prioritized. They are a special group.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me on. Yes, I spoke to 10 South African refugees who told me that, they came to the U.S. hoping for a better life, a better situation, just as other refugees. And the government contracts with 7 refugee resettlement agencies that are paid hundreds of millions of dollars per year to provide safe, sanitary, and affordable housing. And unfortunately, what I heard from these Afrikaner refugees is that they're spending weeks in motels in unsafe areas. They're being offered housing that is full of mold, apartments that are full of mold in expensive areas. So each refugee is allotted $2,000, and all of that has been going to rent. So they're really left with nothing. And these agencies are supposed to help them apply to jobs, obtain temporary benefits such as SNAP and Medicaid, and basically other people from the community, like neighbors, are having to step in because they just, in some cases, can't even get a hold of their resettlement agencies.
And Madeline, what jumps out to me about what you're saying is we have this almost split screen between what you're describing their life is like now and how they looked in May of 2025 when they were being welcomed here. They were holding American flags. They had smiles on their faces. When you asked refugee groups about these issues with the resettlement process, what are they telling you? How common is this?
Well, from what I could tell, there is an entire network of people as they come. People I spoke to came as soon as 2 weeks ago. And what they do is, they have a network through social media groups and WhatsApp, and they're all realizing, oh no, I'm stuck in this hotel. I only have a certain amount of food. They don't have transportation. They don't have the right clothing. I talked to 3 refugees who are in Detroit. It's very cold there. They do not have coats. So they're realizing that they really feel alone.
So the Afrikaners Elon Musk had Trump bring to the United States because they were being prosecuted are stating they are having serious issues surviving in the United States. And the only person that can be blamed for this struggle is Trump himself. Trump cut a bunch of funding that Biden set up for refugee programs. And it wasn't just the money that Trump cut, it's also the staff that he cut at refugee offices and other federal offices because of the Doge department. Elon Musk did this to his own peoples. So these refugees are saying they're only making $2,000 a month, which is barely enough to handle their rent. They're saying the houses they're in are roach infested. They're saying there's a lack of access to refugee support, again, because of Doge cutting all of that support. And they feel very isolated from these programs, and the language barrier is bothering them. So I'm not sure what more can be said about this struggle and why cutting refugee programs and the people physically working in those refugee programs was a bad idea, because even the people he is trying to help, the better immigrants, as they would say in the Trump administration, are now struggling to be here.
This couldn't have happened to a group of better people. And the most interesting thing that I didn't know that I learned from that reporting was they have snuck 1,600 more of these South African Afrikaners fleeing from a lie of persecution in South Africa. Yeah, sounds about right. But I don't hear any outrage from these maggots and racists and bigots talking about they're getting $2,000 a month. They're being put on welfare so they can have medical and yada, yada, yada. I don't hear any of that from those anti-immigrant groups that are always talking about immigrants just being allowed to breathe in the United States. Like I said, couldn't have happened to a better group. Yep, I guess their usefulness has run its course. Oh, you can't make this up. But I'm going to enjoy the laugh all the way.
Did you see this video of this woman from South Africa talking about how on a Facebook group she saw that Afrikaner refugees here in the U.S. are struggling and are thinking about going back?
Family of refugees has been placed in this town, and they have had like no food. I know that there's this, and I don't know what to think because I didn't really follow it at all when it happened. But I think they were of the understanding that they were going to be arriving here to like complete assistance. And I think people here thought that they were going to be arriving to a house and a job and medical insurance and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it actually isn't that way at all. There have been like 4 adults in a hotel room with no money, no cell phone, no anything. And like the humanitarian in me, I can't ignore the fact that these people are struggling. But there's this one side of me that's like, fuck that.
If you hadn't heard the story, Trump has been letting Afrikaner refugees, heavy on the quotes, into the U.S. They came here with the lie that the South African government is persecuting them because they're white. So at a time where Trump is not allowing any refugees to come into the country, he is allowing Afrikaners into the country. And like this article perfectly states, they're not refugees, they're opportunists. And these opportunists really thought that when they got to the U.S., they were going to get a house, a job, a car, a cell phone, health insurance completely paid for. They really thought that Daddy Donnie was going to take taxpayer money and give it to them. You know, believing all those lies that people of color come to the U.S. to seek refugee or asylum, and then they have it on easy street, which, surprise, surprise, it's not true. And it doesn't matter how much those South Africans hate it here, they can't just go back home. Like the Department of International Relations said, these Afrikaner refugees cannot just go back to South Africa or get assistance from South Africa because they're supposed to be under the protection of the United States and Donald Trump. And if these Afrikaner refugees want to be welcomed back as citizens, they have to revoke their status in order for this to happen. If these Afrikaners are struggling in the U.S. and they want to go back home, basically they have to admit, we lied. I think it's kind of humorous to me that their lies have backfired on them and that Donald Trump has left them stranded. However, it's very frustrating that people who actually have to seek asylum and refuge in the U.S. because they're trying to escape danger and persecution are not being allowed in, but these opportunists are being fast-tracked.
Farmers are being killed. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here.
All of these folks who've just come in today
Trump not only limited the amount of refugees that could come to America, but he wanted them to be from South Africa because he wanted them to be white. Why? I don't know. Why does he do anything? He's racist. This group of white South Africans are called Afrikaners. They're mostly descendant of Dutch colonists from the 17th century. Afrikaners are also responsible for something called apartheid. So in the 1940s, a bunch of Afrikaners got in charge of the government and they did segregation. All the white people separated from all the black people to lift themselves up and to the detriment of the black community. Apartheid is over in South Africa, but it does make me think that maybe these Afrikaners wanted to come to America to see if they could start it up again. Trump was like, yes, come to America. We will take care of you. And he did not take care of them. When has he taken care of anyone but himself? I don't know. Maybe never. You can read this article in the Free Press, but I'm going to summarize it for you. Here's what's happening. So these people came from South Africa and they were given a stipend for temporary housing, which most of the time is motels. They were given $2,000 a month. Then they were supposed to move into real housing, but the housing that they're shown is gross. They're like, that's full of mold and it's in an area that feels really dangerous. I don't want to live there. So they go back to these motels and they're using their entire $2,000 a month stipend just for their housing. So they can't afford groceries, a car, coats. Some of them say they are literally freezing because they're in cold areas of the United States because they have to walk to the grocery store because they can't afford a car. And then they get to the grocery store and can barely afford anything because, like I said, they don't have any money left over. They have been truly abandoned by the government. They say they can't even get the people on the phone from this institution that is supposed to be helping them. Multi-million-dollar institution, by the way, just left out in the cold, literally. I feel so bad for them. They are just as abandoned as most of Trump's children. I am not shocked at all that this is what's happening. This is how Trump treats everyone. It's like walking up to a tiger cage, putting your hand in the cage and being like, oh my God, I can't believe the tiger bit my fingers off. Why did he even bring them here if he was just going to completely abandon them? The conspiracy side of me thinks that maybe he just brought a whole bunch of new white families over here so he could look at their kids and see if he wanted to abduct them to the new version of Epstein Island.
Well, I remember them. They got off of that plane smiling like they had just landed in Disney World. They thought they was about to come over here and live a life of luxury, zero labor, and all the racism their little hearts can stomach. But they are learning out the hard way that the grass is not always greener on the other side, and racism is expensive than a motherfucker. They can barely pay rent. They don't have the right clothing. They can't afford to buy the right clothing because they're barely affording rent. They barely have food, and most of them are still living out of hotels, which we know is expensive as a motherfucker. They thought they was about to come over here and be the brand new Elon Musk, arriving from South Africa. Yet another fatality of those that have blindly put their faith in Trump, racism, and hatred.
Do you guys know what happened to the Afrikaners that claimed there was white genocide in South Africa and hightailed it to America under this administration with the hope that they'd have a better life here, claiming that there's white genocide in South Africa and South Africa's trying to eradicate the white race? All these lies that they told to get here. Listen, it's one thing to come here with dignity. I have no problem people moving here with dignity, but when you're gonna lie about your country and stir up hate and go along with this terrible thing people are saying about South Africa just because you don't like it there, because your white privilege ended with apartheid and you still had privileges but you took it for granted. Do you know what happened to those people? They are living in motels right now with cockroaches, mosquitoes, and mold, and they're complaining because all they got was $2,000 when they started. They were promised that someone would help them find a job, find housing. Nothing's happening. One guy, the best one I heard, oh my gosh, I was dying when I heard this. is they interviewed an Afrikaner, and I need to look this up to see if it's true, but this is the story. Is they interviewed an Afrikaner, and he said he had to wash the car of an African American man here. So I hope that's true. Oh my gosh, I hope that's true. That would be so delicious. You know why I'm celebrating this karma is because there's people out there that are actually suffering, that are fleeing their countries to just make a life for their families and provide and you know, make sure their kids have a future. And they have to wait forever. And sometimes it goes 10 years before that happens, which is why they end up here undocumented. Not that they're doing anything wrong and killing people and stuff. They're just undocumented because the system failed them. And it's just too much of money and resources. Anyways, these people got the red carpet rolled out for them based on a lie. And now look what's happening. God. That is real God right there, not the nationalists that they are. The real God is acting right now and saying, oh, you want to lie? Yeah, this is the life you're going to have. So, shame. I wish them all the luck, but I guess they can't go back to South Africa if they claim refuge from it, right? I hope not. Gosh, I hope. Oh, that'd be so nice.
Out that the majority of them are struggling here in the United States. They are only given $2,000 a month, which typically their rent eats up, so they have no more funds for food, transportation, anything extra. They're living in roach-infested apartments. They are living in an unsafe area. It's almost as if the United States is oppressive. Tried to tell y'all. And if anything, this just further goes to show that there are flaws within our immigration system, flaws within our asylum system. There are flaws. It's not the people, it's the system. This is what happens when our politicians are more interested in using immigration as a talking point, as a tool for election, rather than an actual issue that needs to be addressed rather immediately.
Welcome to America, guys.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better. Guys, my name is Shalila. Thanks for watching my videos. Care to subscribe and like.